coming to you on this Monday, February 27th. Oof. It's been one of those type of Mondays. What can I say? But welcome in. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're tuning in live late at night with us or cracking in the early hours of the morning. I'm joined by none other than my friend and fellow Bitcoiner, Eric Podwojski. Eric, how are you doing, good sir?
Q, what is up, my man? All is good here.
How has the winter storm been treating you? Have you guys been getting it as bad as like California?
Yeah, so this past week has been unreal, I think. So I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah right now, and I think we've got like 40, 50 inches at least over the past week. So coincidentally, actually, this past Monday was my birthday, and I had like five of
Happy
my
birthday.
thank you. Five of my closest friends came and visited me here in Utah, and they had an absolute blessing with powder. So really, best possible week and best possible birthday.
That's so epic. I love that.
Yeah, man.
Um, I love to kick each episode off sort of in a similar fashion, though. And I like to start it off with everyone's sort of orange pill story, or at least when did you first hear about Bitcoin and in what context was it?
I actually don't think I've talked about this yet, like publicly. Uh, I think I had first heard Bitcoin when I was in high school, and one of my buddies was trying to buy weed on like the Silk Road or something. And he's like, "Yo, get this! You have to, you have to buy the stuff called Bitcoin, and then from there you can go and buy like a pound of weed or whatever." And yeah, so from there I was like, "All right, whatever." And fast forward now to 2017, I'm at Penn State University, and I see advertisements for a blockchain club. And I'm like, what is this? So obviously 2017, the price is running up. You start seeing Bitcoin and other crypto in the news. I got curious, started showing up to a couple meetups. There were like little nerdy kids trying to explain what a blockchain is and everything. It was way over my head. I was like, how do I just buy some of this and like, try to make some profits here? That's all I was trying
And
to do.
get rich.
Yeah. So with my whole like $300 worth of beer money I had to my name at the time, I bought some Bitcoin and then also went down the shitcoin route. And you know how early 2018 ended up. I lost it all. So that was my initial touch point with Bitcoin.
And like you lost it all. How so? Locked out of a
No,
wallet, leverage trading.
not even. No, no, no. It was just buying XRP and other stupid like
Oh,
low
so you
cap
were just full
crypto.
blown shitcoin.
And then yeah, and then it dropped
Okay.
like 90%
So no
plus.
pity.
Well, there goes all my money. And so I just sold it for literally like pennies on the dollar that I bought it for, and that was it. So I had a little like bad taste in my mouth from all this stuff. Uh, However, what was odd about this from I guess 2018 all the way up to like 2020, 2020-ish when I really started diving down the rabbit hole, that like 2 year period, I was oddly always checking the price of Bitcoin. So I'd go on CoinMarketCap and look at the price. Like I didn't even really like own that much. It was just like kind of fascinating to me. But I still don't really dive into the technical aspects, the what is money question, all of that. It's just kind of like this thing's interesting. Um, yeah, so read the Bitcoin Standard, a couple other books, read some blog posts, articles, and that's when you start going down the rabbit hole. So right, it's like I said, around like late 2019, early 2020, um, went down that and never came back out. So since then, went full blown into Bitcoin, quit my engineering career to go full time Bitcoin, and here I am.
So I want to revisit what you ended with because I want to talk a little bit just about like at the very beginning, your story very similar to mine. Like I heard about Bitcoin for the exact same reason, except I was in high school or
Was
I
it
was
Silk
in
Road?
college, not in high school.
Yeah.
And like we're not doing Bitcoin any favors though, are we, when we're talking about the fact that like, oh, it was, when we're trying to illegally send ourselves pot. That's how we learned about Bitcoin. Um, like how much of that FUD that gets spread about Bitcoin being used by drug dealers, like, do we need to honestly ask ourselves, like, okay, like there's a little truth to that,
There
or
is, yeah, totally.
or is
It
that
was
dead?
it was a real utility use case. That's kind of what created the, I guess, original marketplace for Bitcoin. You can actually buy things with it that you couldn't typically buy on the regular market. So if it wasn't for drugs and other illegal things in the dark web, maybe Bitcoin might have not have grown in price appreciation back then. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, whether you agree with what he built or not, I think that Ross Ulbricht like proved the utility and it showed a use case for Bitcoin. Like,
By the way, he is a Penn State guy, Ross.
nice, nice, nice. That's the one that you guys want to keep. Okay,
Yeah,
noted,
yeah, yeah, yeah. To forget
noted.
about the other.
We're dissing ourselves from Jerry Sandusky. Can I say
Yeah,
that we are on YouTube?
I'm a big fan of Ross, not Sandusky.
Um, the other part I just want to maybe discuss, just if you'll care to entertain me on this, but like, what was your shitcoin of choice? You mentioned Ripple. Like, what was there any others where you were like, "Yo, this is how I'm gonna never work a day in my life. I'm gonna get rich because of this ICO."
It was Ripple. I don't know if I. So I do remember the fork into Bitcoin Cash, and I was trying to figure out how do I like monopolize
Arbitrage
this
that
trade.
trade.
Yeah, I was like, how does this work? So I just hold this and then I get extra from it. Like this makes no sense to me. I missed that actually because I don't think I was actually like self-custodying it at the time. I was just using different exchanges. But yeah, Ripple's definitely the one I kind of fell down the rabbit hole of. There were some other small cap ones. I honestly don't even remember which ones I was trading at the time. Uh, I was sitting in the back of my engineering class looking up what does a green candle mean? Like the most basic trading things ever. I knew absolutely nothing about this stuff. I
So
was like,
you were like genuinely just trading like an absolute degenerate gambler Ripple, like on a
yeah,
daily, week.
yeah.
Like I want a
There
little
was very,
context of
very
how
little
Eric
thought
lost
to
all
it.
his money.
Yeah, very little thought to it. And like I said, we're talking about like a couple $100. It was nothing. But to me at the time, that was a lot. That meant
Totally.
like
Like in college,
in
a
nights
couple
of
hundred
going out.
bucks is like that gets you through a month at
Right,
least, a
right.
couple months if you're smart about it. But like when you said you went down that rabbit hole a little bit, you still at this point in time though you didn't really explore Bitcoin. I'm
No.
curious, like what were the things that sold you on Ripple? Because I think it's a worthy conversation to have because there are countless people who even right now are sort of getting like caught up in the like right, but like the utility of this or the security of that and this and that. So like what was sort of that what caught your attention about Ripple?
Yeah, I mean, all my research was just going to Google and typing in what's the next best like crypto. And I think back then people were marketing it as that basically, better, cheaper, faster, all that kind of stuff. And then that's why it would be better than Bitcoin. I didn't understand at the time like the idea of absolute scarcity, proof of work versus proof of stake. I had no idea what any of that meant. So it was me just Googling and finding marketing content that sold me, which I believed. And I just didn't put in the
Totally.
work, honestly. I didn't put in the real work to realize there is a difference between them and Bitcoin is the true innovation. So just me being
Totally.
naive, me being uneducated, and falling for easy marketing.
I don't think it's like at least you recognize it because I think that's the important lesson. Like I couldn't tell you if I would have like I definitely would have read something and not realized, oh, this is just like a marketing bit and like also been convinced if I was going and looking for that type of information. So by all means, like at least you recognize it and learn from it.
And
Um,
I was like in engineering school. Like I'm not thinking about marketing, sales, any of that stuff.
right.
I'm thinking
And
about
so
like nerdy stuff.
like was there anything like what type of field of engineering were you studying at the time?
Yeah, interestingly, energy engineering. So
Okay.
Penn State had a program where it kind of combined three different disciplines. They had a fuel science program, so it was a lot of chemical engineering, some parts of mechanical engineering, and then they like sprinkled in, I guess, renewable energy classes along with like how did that interplay with non-renewable uh, existing technologies. Yeah, so it was pretty cool, and I honestly didn't know what I was really going to do with it. I just found it fascinating. And I didn't really think it had much application because it was a newer major too, less known in the engineering discipline. So I got a job as a civil engineer after designing gas pipelines because I did have that chemistry background and a little bit of mechanical engineering. But now fast forward to Bitcoin, and there's a ton of applications bringing in the energy aspect that I draw upon a lot of my college days from.
I was gonna say, I feel like you're almost like set up for sort of this next bull run of how energy and Bitcoin mining are about to like really meet on a collision course.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
I
find
want
it
to talk.
fascinating. Good.
I want love to just sort of talk to you though about you're down this path. You've committed a serious amount of time going down the engineering path, and you make a hard pivot.
Yeah,
Um, Obviously this is due in part to the fact that you do finally have that opportunity to spend the time and learn more deeply about Bitcoin, absolute scarcity, what is money.
sure.
um I guess, like, who were maybe two or three either books or people, whether they be just like podcasters or writers, authors, or whoever, like, who were the people who were very influential in that journey for you?
Yeah, I think, like I stated before, the Bitcoin standard really set the stage for me, laid it all out, and then I really was drawn to Breedlove's work. So that's when he like first started putting out articles and content. I don't even know if he had a podcast yet, but he just started. And so yeah, I gravitated towards him. No one in particular really comes to mind. It was more or less me just scouring the internet, trying to find the good resources, and just putting that all together. So yeah, shout out to all the guys that came before me that really laid out the educational content that helped me get from go from Bitcoin to crypto back to Bitcoin. So I think that was a lot harder back in the early like 2010s.
Were there any of the like notorious shitcoin scammers that like for a while you bought into their snake oil? Like,
There was this
like were
guy
you
on
a
YouTube I
Bitboy
was
simp?
following. His name was Data Dash. So he was always posting like he wasn't against Bitcoin, but he was always posting about like all different kind of crypto projects, like how to do TA. And so I was following him for a while, and then I just kind of realized he was full of shit. So he still puts out content, I think. I checked up on him a couple months ago.
I feel like most of those sort of like crypto influencers will like if you have a conversation with them, none of them will say like, "Oh, Bitcoin is garbage." Like maybe a couple who are just like sipping for Ripple, but other than that, I feel like for the most part, you see them like, "Oh yeah, I have Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin will moon, but like I also think I'll make some money in holding an ETH stack or Shiba Inu to the moon or
What's
whatever."
what's odd is like a lot of them do make money that way, like kind of crypto trading and then putting their profits into Bitcoin. But the reality is their show, whatever it may be, is tailored towards their audience that doesn't know how to professionally do what they're doing to trade. So even though they might be successful and they might have a platform with 300,000 subscribers on YouTube, I'm gonna bet 95% of the audience that's like trying to trade with them is not performing anywhere near as well.
Oh, absolutely not. And like, there's also this like double-edged sword too, where these people, I have to believe that they're not naive enough to just think like if they post like someone with 300,000 followers, if they were to post like they have a position or they went long in this or they're shorting this that crypto, whatever it is, they're not naive. They know that that decision will in turn like cause at least a fraction of their followers to make a similar bet.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It'll be very interesting. I think we saw like a case earlier this year where like a group of 10 different finance like Twitter bros are 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 like in serious shit because of doing this. So
Yeah, and that's the reality is that there are secret groups where multimillionaires pump and dump coins. And if you're watching a YouTube video to get your alpha, I'm sorry, but they're already way ahead of you and they're just going to dump on you. That's like kind of the whole game, at least in the crypto world.
the number of like, oh, we offer pump and dump like for X number of dollars in my DMs of like all these like robotic accounts, like it's absolutely bonkers. You know what else is actually in my DMs that like I I I'm so angry about. I keep getting offered Bitcoin rocks. Like literally
Like
like an
NFTs.
ordinal NFT, like
Uh,
Bitcoin rocks. And I don't know how I feel about it. Like personally, like I don't care for them. I think ordinals are dumb, and I think the fad is coming past as the mempool like shows based
yeah.
on fees right now. Um, where do you stand on ordinals?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting actually, and I still haven't really made a decision. If you look at some of my tweets from the past couple weeks, it's like me trying to poke the community about just questioning different aspects of it. I do find it fascinating though, the idea of cementing information in the time chain forever. So, you know, NFTs of rocks, I could care less about, but like, what if we put the Bible in there? What if we put WikiLeaks information that like shouldn't be distributed? Now people will come back to me and say, yeah, that's what turns are for. But I also see the time chain a little more accessible to people, a little more global. So I definitely think there's utility to it. Now, is it worth the risk of congesting the Bitcoin blockchain and the mempool? I don't know. And that's why I'm kind of leaning on people that are smarter than me to try to explain it. So still undecided. How about you?
I'm trying to play you a noise. It's a fart like this.
A fart noise?
That's an ordinal. God damn it. That is ordinal
Oh,
inscription
okay. Yeah.
2042. And
I could care less about those inscriptions. Those are
but like
boring.
my frustration is that like, okay, like, look, do I laugh at a fart joke still at the age however old I am now? Yes. Am I too old to be doing that? Absolutely not. I will laugh until the day I die at fart jokes. They will always be funny to me. However, when we're talking about the global monetary network, it probably behooves us. Sure, we're testing it out, making sure it works. Audio works, small enough audio files can be inscribed, putting the Bible, putting like texts that are often banned in certain parts
Yeah,
of the world, like things that have viable, realistic, real world, impactful, like that is worth taking up some block space. That is worth higher fees to be paid. But the fact that we're talking about putting farts on the blockchain just shows you how much privilege we have to even be like using Bitcoin, quite frankly. That's
totally.
just
No,
my I'm
I'm
just
with
down to like a preachy little bitch. So
Yeah, I'm with you, and that's why I'm still very undecided. And I, yeah, I'm just kind of waiting until it plays out a little more. What I did see more recently, though, is like spam or like ordinals, where like let's say you click and it's a PDF or something malicious that downloads content to your computer that you don't want to be there. That's a huge issue. I don't know. So there's just a ton of trade offs. Net good or net bad for Bitcoin? It's undecided in my mind.
it did help onboard a lot of new nodes and a lot of new
That's the
users.
positive side, right?
Totally. Totally. So I don't know. I just think we're all a bunch of privileged fucks right now. So what can I say? But let's get back to you and let's talk about, this transition. So, you've
Yeah.
committed your entire life to engineering. You're trying to save the planet from global warming, and lo and behold, you say, "Fuck that."
Yeah. I have a good story for this. So
Please.
this is like coming up on my second year in my engineering job, and I'm getting ready to like negotiate, salary raise, extra bonus, that kind of stuff, plus a new title, like position change. And then I started researching like what are typical, bumps in salary after a year or two, and then I start learning. Okay, let's just say in the range of anywhere between 5 to 20%. Sure. And at the same time, I'm learning that's, inflation's running at 10%, whatever it may be. And that's like the official numbers. I think back then it was a lot less, but still the idea of inflation being so high and me climbing this corporate ladder. So let's say every 2 years I get a 10% raise, But if every year inflation's at 6%, then I'm at a net loss. So it was really that realization to me that I was like, oh, I can actually never get ahead. And especially like the engineering career, you top out at like 150, 200K in like today's dollars, and they fire you because you get paid too much. I've seen that happen to two different engineering managers that I've worked under. So very smart guys, they were just getting too much paid. So I was like, all right, so my career is I'm going to dedicate my entire life to this. Plus, like the setting I was in was awful. Like working in a very dreary office, everything was gray. They didn't like really want you talking to anyone in the office unless it was like work related. So if I was talking in the office about basketball or whatever, they're just like, nah, sit down, shut up. So it was
This
just a
this
combination.
sounds like heaven.
Yeah, it was a combination of things. Plus a really bad manager, and I was just like, this is not for me. And I see this where this path's going to take me, and I don't want to be like average my whole life. So I got to do something drastic. And that's what I did. I actually went out to a ski trip. I was snowboarding in Jackson Hole with my friends. And I was contemplating that whole week. I was like really getting to the point. I was like, I don't want to work for it, like do this career anymore. And so when I got back, I would say that that week gave me like a full, gave me a time to like take a step back and rethink my life. And then when I got back, I was just like, nope, I'm done and quit. So, and I was like, didn't have much of a plan, but I was like, I want to be in the Bitcoin space. I know that for sure. So I just started working on Bitcoin education, tried to make money doing that. As you probably know, it's kind of hard to make money in the Bitcoin education space, especially all the plebs that discourage you from charging $850 for a course. So leaned away from that, and I was like, you know what? I need to get a job in the space. So that's when I applied to Bitcoin Magazine, and kind of the rest was history there.
And how did, working in, I wouldn't say like a fully established industry, but like, an industry that's at least like, has its customs, has sort of like the expectations of what you're going to make, what the expectations of work are. How was that experience going from that to what Bitcoin Magazine was, which was more or less just a free for all where everyone just worked from home?
Yeah, it's
Not saying that
exciting.
that's a bad thing at all. Like,
Yeah,
best time of my life.
I think it depends on the type of person. So if you're not disciplined enough to like get up and do your work, you can fall behind really quickly. Some people do need a babysitter that they need to go in the office, be told what to do. I know that's not really my personality. So I see positives and negatives in both. But for me, it was like a whole new life. And I kind of continued it into now what I'm doing. Like I work from home every day on my own terms, but I'm working like crazy. So it teaches more like self responsibility, self discipline, I think.
And how much of that, as Bitcoiners, I feel like there's also a part of when you go down that rabbit hole of understanding money in the financial markets, whether it be inflation and your salary not being good enough or whatever it is that prompts that journey. There's also another part, I think, of just the Bitcoin journey and life cycle where you are more or less, growing and changing as a person. How much of that do you also attribute to, you know, going down this Bitcoin rabbit hole and shifting your mindset
Oh,
there?
totally. So right now, I just turned 27. But so I also think that, in your mid 20s, you kind of grow up. I think a lot of people do. So I was going through that. Plus, I was learning about Bitcoin at the same time. So it was kind of like a double whammy. Me compared to the person I am now, compared to like 4 or 5 years ago, completely different person. Due to those two factors. So yeah, I'll give some credit to Bitcoin. Definitely teaches that self responsibility, and it made me want to learn again. So I lost that. I don't know if I actually really ever had it. I would kind of just like did well in school, but that's just because I was following the traditional path. And Bitcoin made me, yeah, and just enjoy the process of learning again. So from that, and then all the other aspects, other parts of life that Bitcoin touches. Like for right now, I'm going down the beef rabbit hole, like understanding where my food's coming from. How do I get in touch with local farmers? That kind of stuff. There's another rabbit hole, like the privacy rabbit hole. So setting up a VPN, it's like the most basic version, but I never did that until I discovered Bitcoin. And just going down other privacy rabbit hole. Yeah. So there's a lot of Bitcoin adjacent topics that have made me curious about life. And I've just been following that.
What is one Bitcoin adjacent topic that you're just like, this is so dumb? and I will share with you mine. It is the seed oil disrespecters who will sit there with their Monster Energy drinks and say seed oils suck, and then chug just cans of sugar. And yes, joke and sortie, I am still looking directly at you.
Yeah, I don't know if I can think of one top of mind, but, what did come to mind was, so I suffer from not suffer, I don't really experience much anymore, but Crohn's disease, and I think that was attributed to seed oils and just really poor American diet growing up. So it led to, like, emergency surgery, couldn't walk for, like, 6 months, and yeah, so I think there is some validity to that.
Well, my whole thing with seed oils is it it mistakes the actual underlying issue, is which is the fact that the oil itself is highly processed, and it
Mhm.
focuses it only on one product, where there are highly processed food sources throughout our entire like
Oh, yeah.
food supply. So like, okay, you don't eat seed oils, but then you go and you eat a highly processed sugary drink like sodas or Monster Energy drinks. It's like, all right,
Right.
then you're not getting the point of what why you're disrespecting seed oils. But
Totally,
I'm totally with you that like the American diet is just like disgusting. I've had a couple of friends who came back from Italy talk about how they ate pasta probably twice a day every day for 2 weeks straight
yeah. Mm.
and felt incredible, and then came back here and they tried to do it like one day, one like I think 2 days in a row eating pasta once a day, and then by like day three they were like, I can't
Yeah,
do
it's
this.
it's all made different. It's all these industrial processes and industrial ingredients that our bodies aren't really used to processing are now in the foods, especially in American foods. Yeah, so you have to kind of watch out, and that's something I've learned over the last couple of years with the help of the Bitcoin community too, because I know the community is really tuned into that.
So I take it you cook for yourself a lot, right?
Yeah, I try to.
So are you a stainless steel or a cast iron pan maxi?
I'm not a maxi on both. I'm not honestly, I'm not, like, educated enough on either. Was using a cast iron pan, and then when I moved out to Salt Lake, my fiancé got me a stainless steel, and that's what I've been using. So,
See, happy wife, happy life. You're a smart guy. That guy, this guy gets it. For you plebs who are still trying to figure the dating world out, like take notes. This man is
yeah,
engaged.
yeah, man. Just, listen to fiancé and your life will be a lot better.
How like
I can deal with it.
how is Utah? Like how has it been? Because you guys used to live together. I won't
Yeah.
dox where it was, but like how is living in a ski town more or less been? Which,
Oh,
by
yeah.
the way, I'm
So,
still
I was
so
living in the
jealous.
East Coast basically my whole life too. Um, and the cities in the East Coast are really dirty and kinda dangerous, and the people aren't, like, the nicest. And when you come over here to I guess, the Western US, so in Salt Lake City, it's the first thing I noticed, how nice the people were, and the second thing, I was in downtown Salt Lake, I was like, "There's not one piece of trash anywhere. How is this possible in a city?" And then, yeah, I guess I realized that, you can live in a city that's clean and with nice people. You just have to move to a different location. So yeah, it's been nothing but greatness here. And I think the connection to the outdoors, everyone here hikes, they snowboard, ski, they go mountaineering, whatever it may be. They're very connected to the outdoors. So I think that makes them a little like relaxed, a little more relaxed and laid back than typical East Coast people. You said Denver sketchy.
Yeah, I mean, like they're like every town has certain sketchy parts, and then
Yeah, I'm
it'll
sure there are sketchy parts of Salt Lake too. I just haven't been there, and I just kind of like blocked out in my head.
no,
But
you're in a Mormon country. Like the whole state is closed on Sundays. Like no, there is no sketchy
yeah,
parts of Salt Lake. There's
yeah,
sketchy people, but you're so safe.
yeah.
Was that a shock about the whole like nothing really is open on Sundays?
Yes and no. So I've really cut down on drinking more recently, so it doesn't really affect me as much. I guess, yeah, if we want to go out to eat on a Sunday, you're being lazy, you don't feel like cooking. It's a lot harder to get food. But besides that, it's no real difference at all to me. Sundays are chill days for me anyway. So it's either if I'm not at the snowboarding mountain, I'm just like hanging out. near
What
my
what
house.
what so far has been your favorite mountain this season?
Oh man, that's tough. So when I moved out here, I got the Epic Pass because I didn't know that the canyons over here got so much more snow than Park City. So the Park City is on the Epic Pass, and then Icon had the rest with all the best snow. So I've been going to Park City a lot. Don't get me wrong, it's great, and I do like doing Park, but I've
Isn't
been
that like
missing out on some powder
that's like
days.
a little bit of a drive too for you, right?
No, it's like 25 minutes, 30
Oh,
minutes.
okay. So that's not
It's
as
not that
bad.
bad. Yeah, but overall, I'd say Brighton because Brighton just
Yeah.
gets absolutely dumped on. It has the best backwood trees. Yeah, I just love
Have
everything about
have
it.
you just like taken like a short little hike at any point?
You like while snowboarding or just like hikes on the weekends
No, no, no,
separate?
like straight up, like just park your car on the side of the road because like that whole road that leads pat like Solitude, Brighton, all those, you can
Yeah,
just park anywhere and then just literally like hike up the mountain and then
right.
snowboard down. Have you done any of that yet? Or
I haven't done any like splitboarding type activities, but I was supposed to meet a Bitcoiner to hike. There's like a 6, 7 mile hike, I think, on the way to Brighton. And I was supposed to meet another Bitcoiner just from Bitcoin Twitter, and we were supposed to do this hike together. So I get there 15 minutes earlier than he did, and by the time he got there, there was zero parking and there was an accident like on the canyon going up there. So he wasn't able to actually like do it with me. So I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna do a solo hike. So yeah, I've been doing some hikes, but I haven't been doing any like hikes to snowboard down. I just go to the
okay,
mountain, hop in the ski lift.
you need to do that just one time at least while you're there, and then send me pictures from the top of the mountain.
I know, and I really want to split board, but they're
I'm
expensive.
challenging you. I need to live vicariously through someone this season, man.
Yeah, I feel that. How about you? Have you been able to ride it all this winter?
No, I've been recovering from the Achilles tear, so it's been
Oh yeah, I forgot about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Dang, how was
So
that?
I started walking like for the most part on my own, like last
Wow,
week.
dude, that's crazy. That happened what, November?
Yeah.
Wow. So if anyone's listening doesn't know, we did the 3-on-3 tournament at the Pacific Bitcoin Conference. We did fine during the actual game play, but after we were done, Q was just messing around and decided to tear his Achilles. Yeah, and which he's still recovering from. How many
Yeah,
months later?
I like, I did it intentionally too. Like it was,
Mhm.
oh my God, the most absurd, like it was truly the most painful thing I've ever experienced. It was
Yeah, man, I felt really bad.
10 out of 10 would not recommend. What can I say? But I do
I'll
want to
keep
now
that in
get
mind next time I play basketball.
yeah, honestly, the worst part, and I will just say this, was I pretty religiously do a yoga routine in the mornings, like for the last like 6, 7 years now. And
Hmm.
I've skipped it like only a handful of times. The morning of the basketball game, I woke up a little like behind the time and I was like debating, maybe I should just do at least a short one. And I literally said to my girlfriend on my way out the door, I was like, I'm gonna regret not doing any yoga this morning.
Mm, and you regretted it.
Oh man, do I regret not doing yoga that morning.
Oh boy, I can only imagine. You know what's funny too? I always feel like Achilles, those tears always happen in like your late 20s, early 30s. You hear so many stories about that.
Dude, honestly, it's like kind of absurd how many people have like I've talked to have had a similar thing where it's like I was just playing basketball, like it was like nothing but like I jumped off of it the wrong way or whatever. Like I'm like, dang, like we all really do suck at basketball. Like, oh my God, we should not be playing this sport. Like at the age I am. But that's the bigger realization is like, see, I'm a little older than you are. So like for me, I've gotten to the point in my life where it's like I love playing basketball, I love playing soccer, but it's
Mhm.
like, can I keep playing those things recreationally when like what I really love, like my real sport of passion at this point
Yeah,
in my life is snowboarding. Like that
yeah.
is like I enjoy the summer. I like warm weather, but like
I'm the same
so
way. I'm a huge recreational sports junkie. Anyone wants to play pick up basketball, soccer, anything, I'm down. And I know it's gonna come down to me just getting hurt one day and coming through that same realization, but I just need to do it myself. My brain won't
Dude,
listen.
dude, just honestly stretch so much, man. Like I cannot stress to you how how important stretching is. And
Hmm.
like the weird part is like there were definitely moments when like I was just on one leg where I could feel my like Achilles in my right leg just be like, "Hey man, I'm sending like this tingle here because you're really pushing me a little too hard and I'm working overtime to make sure nothing happens, but like I need you to like chill the fuck out and stop trying to like bounce all over the house on one leg."
Yeah.
But yeah, and suffice to say, I will never play basketball on a like garbage outdoor court that's like made of rubber puzzle pieces ever again.
I
But
will until I tear my Achilles. And I
no,
guarantee you, I don't know what the Bitcoin Mag team has planned for this year's conference, but if there's a basketball court, I'll be there, and there's a chance I will tear my Achilles on it.
please don't do that. Please, please
No,
do
we're
not
good.
do that.
We're good.
Um, but I want to get to the meat and potatoes
Sure.
of today's episode. So I know you alluded to the fact that you've been really busy. You've been sort of working on a really awesome project. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you've been building?
Yeah, definitely. So I'd say kick it back later, I guess end of this past summer, 2022. I was working at Bitcoin Magazine and I was talking to a lot of, I guess, high level people in the industry. And I was like, I should really start leveraging this in some way. And so I just started a writing habit on both Twitter and just writing a newsletter, just writing short atomic essays, putting my content online and trying to like build out a niche for myself. And one of the niches that I identified that's like no one was really doing is talking about getting a job in the industry. So combining Bitcoin, the niche, with I guess the further sub niche jobs, I've just been writing about it more and more, learning more about that whole space, recruiting and how to get jobs and advice. And then I'd say in like November or so, one of my co-founders, Andy, reached out to me and he said, "Hey, I have this idea for like a kind of recruiting firm, but Bitcoin only." And I was instantly down for it. I was like, yeah, this makes a ton of sense. I was approaching it from the candidate side. So I was thinking, how can we come up with a way to help get more Bitcoiners into the space? And he came from it from his like traditional recruiting background. He owned a agency of his own. And he was like, yeah, we're just going to make a recruiting firm, but basically make it Bitcoin only and support Bitcoin only companies because we understand recruiting and we understand Bitcoin. So I guess mashing those two roles together, we got our third co-founder on board, and then we just started reaching out to Bitcoin companies and landed a few clients. And then that was really like end of December. And so we were like, okay, we got a real business. Obviously, the market needs this. How do we set this up in the right way and launch the right way? Because honestly, recruiting is it's not a it's not hard to copy this business model. I'd say what it is we have, I think, a really strong group of advisors. We have a really strong group of initial co-founders and recruiters working under us that are all Bitcoiners. So to have like this group of people to initially come out the gate is really good. At least to kind of like build a moat around us in a way. Yeah. So more recently, we're just working on fulfilling our current clients' needs. So that's hiring for the active roles that they have open, and then onboarding a couple of new clients as well as thinking through the education part. So one of the biggest things I'm thinking about is all the talent that's outside the Bitcoin industry that doesn't really know much about Bitcoin. How do we get them to work for a Bitcoin company and get them up to speed on Bitcoin? So it's a pretty hefty challenge, I think, and that would just be all included in the services we provide.
And what about the other side of that coin, like businesses that maybe are more maybe crypto curious that you could maybe make them more Bitcoin focused or something to that effect?
Yeah, I think our initial plan right now is just to focus on smaller Bitcoin companies. because those are the ones that kind of need the support. Plus, I've also realized that a lot of Bitcoin companies operate as startups. They don't really have the traditional onboarding experiences like other industries do. So usually when you come into a company, they have a 30, 60, 90-day plan. They're telling you like this is how the organization works, all that kind of stuff. I think a lot of Bitcoin companies are kind of scrappy and they're just like, yep, here's what you do. Go at it. So I
And
think
then they
bringing
change
someone
your job description 3 days after you start
that,
at
yeah,
minimum.
I think the career development aspect that's existent in traditional companies is going to be very important to bring to the Bitcoin space to help it like mature. That's how we get undeveloped talent into the space and already talented people in the space. How do they legitimize it, make it more of a real industry?
And so like I want to first start, I guess, on the business side with some of these clients you guys are working with. Like, what is it? You're seeing them look for, not like yes, a little bit of like type of roles, but also like what are the traits and characteristics that make them a Bitcoiner, and then in turn, like what is it then that you can apply to people who are not yet Bitcoiners, who you guys still think are talent value add for your clients?
Yeah, that's a question I actually ask every single client. It's what level of Bitcoin knowledge, Bitcoin culture fit do you expect? I've had some people tell me, just they just need 101 type knowledge, have owned Bitcoin, but like don't really know much about it. That's fine. And if they're really good at their function, like you say, they're a marketing guy and they're really freaking good at email marketing, and he's a 101 knowledge level of Bitcoin, great, my guy. I've had people also say, I need someone that's a 201, 301 level of Bitcoin knowledge because they need to know the technical aspects too. So yeah, it really depends company to company. But I think that's where we come in and we can kind of give them candidates that fit that exact profile. So if you're a new Bitcoiner, I wouldn't be discouraged getting in the industry. Same if you've been in the industry for 5, 10 years at least, not in the industry, but like want to come work in the industry, but very knowledgeable. There's also roles available, and even less of a talent pool to pull from. So
So no one's asking for a toxic maxi.
not
That
anyone
that's my
specifically
takeaway
yet.
from what you just said, man.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I mean, I haven't talked to every company, obviously. I'm waiting to hear that. And I do bet there's a handful of companies that would like to see toxic maxis that are cursing out other crypto shitcoiners. But no, I
So
haven't come across that yet.
has anyone said like specifically not a toxic maxi?
Mm, no, not to my knowledge.
Okay.
I frame the question as, what type of like a culture fit and Bitcoin knowledge does this ideal candidate need to be?
What you're
And
really asking is like how toxic of a Bitcoiner can you afford to like how susceptible is your culture, your current employees
yeah, and I
to a
do
toxic
think
maxi?
that there are some companies that will be towards the end of the spectrum that are like, no, we only want hardcore Bitcoiners. That on their Twitter they have to be, the most toxic people ever. Yeah, I just haven't come across that yet.
How would you define a toxic maxi?
That's a really good question because I struggle with considering myself a maximalist in any way. So I think once you group yourself into something,
I
you're
mean,
kind of
Eric, we're in
defining
a
who you
call.
are. Yeah,
You understand that, right?
yeah, I get that. But I hate putting up barriers around me and fitting inside a box in a way. So same thing I like with the way I vote too. Like I don't say I'm Democrat, Republican. I just say I'm independent because that leaves a lot more room for me to speak my mind, I guess. But
Okay, so
what's the idea?
are you trying to admit on late night Bitcoin that you still hold your shitcoin Ripple?
I would have been rich by now. I actually don't. Yes, a toxic maximalist to me is someone that's Bitcoin only, but takes it to the next step and has zero tolerance for any other crypto project in any way. And even like discussing another crypto project is just a waste of time and energy. And I do tend to adhere to that, but I always leave that little bit of room for I want to think for myself. Don't put me in that bucket.
Like we can go down this rabbit hole for a second if we really want to, but like I would say there's some necessity to toxic maximalism, but at the
Oh yeah.
same time, like if you're just a long-term holder, being a toxic maximalist and like kind of like following in line with some of those things probably is in your best interest. At the same time, if you are someone who is a degenerate gambler and wants to just trade, even if you just want to be trading Bitcoin, like you don't need to be trading shit coins, but I was giving this a lot of thought. And if you were trading Bitcoin, but you are also a toxic maximalist, so then you left yourself almost like out of the loop on everything else going on in crypto land. Like that's so reckless. Like the reason Bitcoin went from 1917K all the way down to 15K back in November was because of FTT and the panic
Mhm.
that that stirred. And if
Mhm.
you were a trader and you weren't aware that CZ sent that warning and didn't think that that could possibly have a ripple effect down to Bitcoin, like that that's really in my head like the one reason why I would start to be like, okay, like if you're doing that on a regular enough basis, like you actually do need to probably not listen to Bitcoin maximalists. But again, at that point, you're not listening to Bitcoin maximalists because most of
Right.
them are not telling you to trade. Most of them are
Yeah.
definitely not telling you to do any sort of trading or leverage. Just stack stats, stay humble, and put it in cold storage.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious, what do you consider yourself?
Oh, I'm a degenerate gambler.
Okay.
I got like
The first step, Q, is admission.
I like I don't have any shit coins. Um I like I jokingly brought up the fact that like, this is a cult. Like that I will not be shy in saying like there are degrees of this where I find very cultish and that is
Oh,
quite
there's
frankly
so much truth to that.
it's like concerning to me to a degree to a point where like you have to I think if you want to be truly objective like you have to question it a little bit. You can't just like just because it says Bitcoin like be like yep okay I sign off. Like the whole point of being Bitcoiners is the fact that we questioned everything that led us here and to
Yeah,
just stop. That is I think that's disrespectful to the version of yourself that wanted to learn about Bitcoin and went down this rabbit hole to begin with. That's just
sure.
my take and my perspective on it. You may have a different perspective. By all means, tell me how much of a clown I am in the comments. By all means. Um,
Yeah, you got it. I think it all comes down to critical thinking, really. You put whatever label over that you want, and Bitcoin's does lead to a lot of critical thinking, but it's not the end stage. You always got to leave some room for a little bit of outside thinking.
like Buddhist precept where it essentially talks about like permanence is a fact of life or one of the laws of life, if you will.
Mhm.
And essentially saying that like nothing lasts forever. Okay, like if you take that principle and apply it to Bitcoin, that definitely like while we think Bitcoin is the final money, like no, like definitely if we're barely gonna see the potential of Bitcoin to reach in our lives, we sure as shit aren't gonna see the end of Bitcoin. Not only for if we're wildly successful, potentially thousands
Yeah,
of years.
yeah.
Based on Marvel, we still got another 1,000 years of humanity to go. So until we get Kang the Conqueror. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I think there's always gonna be new technology company coming and going. So I would not be surprised if Bitcoin was replaced in the next 1,000 years, whatever it may be.
Totally. At least not. I'm not going to necessarily say like it will, but like it could. That said, as of today, right now, there's nothing that alters or changes my mind. I just think that it's having this open mind to having your mind change if it presents itself. And there's
Right.
also I remember having a conversation with like someone that like I would call him a toxic maximalist to his face, and he would laugh and like give me a hug for it, like Svetsky. And Svetsky and I were having a conversation about like, all right, like Bitcoin starts crashing in the price. Like I think it was like in the 30Ks when I was having this conversation with him, and I was like, all right, it went down to 20, still buying. 15K, still buying. 10, still buying. 5, still buying, but starting to ask some questions. Like a thousand, okay,
Yeah.
maybe, but I'm I probably am not buying again any lower, kind of a thing. And
Yeah.
then he's also sort of explaining why. It's like because like there's an attack going on, and at that point it's like we might have lost a much larger battle if something like that were genuinely let me fix Ethan, let me know if that's better. I think the gain was on too high. But that's also because I'm really fucking high. So,
That was gonna be my final departing question before we ended this.
oh, yeah, no, I'm cooked right now. Like we just had dinner with my mom, my girlfriend, and I, and she just turned to me. She was like, "You want to smoke weed?" I was like, yeah. I will tell you this. I will tell this story. I think I told it on air, but I might not have. So there were 2 episodes I shot last week, dead sober, and 2 episodes I shot. Actually, 3 episodes, 4 episodes I shot last week, where I was pretty high.
Yeah.
And in the 2 episodes that I was sober, I was scatterbrained. I was like bringing up random topics and conversations. There was no structure to the episode. We just like
Huh.
went like all over the place. And the episodes that I got high, I was so like fucking like topic. Next question. All right, flow this through.
So fascinating to me.
I just
I knew people while I was at college, that would go to the library with me, and they'd have to go high to study, and that's the only way they could study, and they could do it great functionally. If I ever tried to do that, it was the biggest waste of time ever, and I was like, "Why am I even here?" So I would just go home.
no,
So there's are functional people that are function better when they're high. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me.
I was the kid going to the library high.
Yeah, yeah. That's sweet. I wish I could do that.
I don't. It's like literally it's obnoxious because then there are those days where I'm trying to be good and it's like no, like you're just not going to be as good. I just think honestly I got to do it more. I got to get more reps in sober and then it'll be better. But
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it
yeah,
just takes some time.
um, we're winding down at this point. We got less than 5 minutes left. I want to turn it to you to just sort of talk about whatever your heart desires. What's been I know, this new company, this new business you guys have been launching has definitely been taking up a lot of your time, but what's been taking up your brain space that you want to get off your chest?
That's a good question.
Because this is the show for guys like you and I whose girlfriends are damn near sick of us talking about Bitcoin and the imminent world collapse.
For me, I'm thinking a lot about traveling. I
Where
think a
to?
lot. So the whole reason I came out here was obviously snowboard, but I want to see as much of the US over this next year or two while I can. So trying to balance work with how do I go and experience life? And I've been struggling with that some more recently. It's like, how do you take a break from the computer? How do you take a break from your phone? Do a detox from your phone? Like I spend so much freaking time on my phone. I hate it sometimes, but I also love it. So how do I get out in nature? How do I really and also when I'm out in nature, how am I present in the moment? So like I went on a hike last week with my fiance and I was just like not there. I was just thinking about work the whole time. I was like, I don't even know why I came out here. I'm sorry. And I just couldn't be
Were
there.
you
So
getting scolded? Was she like, Eric, give me attention?
no, no, she's the coolest girl ever.
Your
She's really
fiance is amazing.
understanding. Yeah. So yeah, you have met her. Yeah, I mean she's great and everything, but thinking about this digital life that we're in nowadays and how to get outside of it and literally go outside and experience the world. Especially because my age too, like I'm gonna have kids in a couple of years. I'm not gonna have as much time to go explore. So I'm trying to get that in as much as I can now. Still stack enough Bitcoin, still make enough income. That's what's really on my mind.
Love that though. So you're loving the snowboarding. If there was like give me your top 3 places so that I can go get a place there first, and
Mm.
then I'll give you the places to go in the city.
Places I
I'll
want to
scope it out.
visit.
I'll make sure it's safe for you.
Okay. Well, I know for sure next year we'll be in Colorado for the winter. not sure exactly where, but I will be there. So if you ever want to come shred, you know to hit
Okay.
up.
Okay. I like this. I like the
Uh,
sound of this already.
I want to definitely hit up Crystal Mountain in Washington. I want to hit up multiple mountains in Colorado. And what's the huge one in Canada? I can't think of the name.
Like over by Vancouver.
It's over on the, I think it's on the west side.
Vancouver. Right? Like you're
Ah,
talking city,
no,
right?
no, 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 no. I'm thinking Mount Tremblant.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I've
Yes.
heard that's sweet. So once I do my, I guess, Western Hemisphere tour, then I'll go over to like Japan or the Alps and do some fun stuff over there too. But my focus right now is banging out, I guess, Washington, Colorado, maybe parts of Canada.
Fair. Fair. I'm definitely like shout out my boy Tino. Although I do not think you listen to this podcast. I literally have it circled that like I'm trying to be like fully operational by August, September at the latest, and I want to make a trip down to Chile and go snowboarding down there. I've got the itch to because now here's another concern, like genuine fear of mine is that I might not be able to snowboard ever again,
Mm,
and then I'd have to like go fully back to skiing, which like I know that eventually I'm gonna have to do that. Like unfortunately, like just snowboarding wears your body down in a way that skiing doesn't.
yeah.
So I want to snowboard on every continent before I have to do that. And then I think like once I get all 7 continents done, then like I'll just be like I'm good on snowboarding now. Like I've done pretty much everything there is to do on a snowboard. I'm ready to now go try it all
Dude,
again on skis.
by the time we're like 50, 60 or whatever, there's going to be like insane virtual reality experiences where you're going to like feel like you're snowboarding. You're just going to be there. We're going to be, you know,
Oh,
up on a lift together, but in
would
our,
you like? Would you forego an entire ski season, but in exchange, like you had access to virtual reality skiing?
mm,
But like you're not going anywhere in the real world skiing or snowboarding.
I guess it depends. Do I have like all the sensors to stimulate and simulate like the real life experience? Like, is it indistinguishable from the real life experience?
So you can tell me sort of where's the line in the sand? Like if it's like you're literally just putting on a headset and like you're standing on a platform,
Yeah,
like no, but like if I could
obviously.
feel the cold a little bit and some wind, like maybe, or like if I genuinely couldn't tell the difference and then I start to doubt my own reality, then like we got bigger issues.
Well, if you're telling me if it's not indistinguishable, like I can't tell a difference, and I can save myself from taking a trip up the canyons where the roads are awful and there's a foot of powder on the ground and there's car crashes all over the place and it's freezing cold outside. If I can like turn those off and just like be at the mountain and feel like I'm there, do everything that I usually do when I'm snowboarding, all right, I'll take it. I think that's
So
the path we're going down anyway. There's no stopping
you're
it.
not wrong. You're not wrong. And like honestly, like more people should think like you so that people like you don't have to deal with the long line to the list.
That is the biggest killer.
I just,
Dude,
it
so
would just to me pose the question of if they can do if we could create this, like what have we already created?
yeah, it's a good question. I will say this past week, what a trip up to Brighton that was supposed to take me around 30 minutes took 2.5 hours. So if I could skip out that, sure.
Oh, no, hard pass on traffic jams. Eric, I wanted to get you back to your lovely fiance at 9, where 2 minutes over. I will give you a moment to tell our audience and listeners how to learn more about what you're doing, whether they're a Bitcoin company looking to hire people or they're Bitcoiners trying to get a job working for a Bitcoin company.
Sure, yeah. Just head over to our website, bitcointalent.co, not .com, that's .co. We're going to be providing resources, I guess, both for candidates that want to get a Bitcoin job. So, how should you shape your resume, your CV? What are the steps to really networking, getting your foot in the door, landing interviews? And then the flip side for any Bitcoin companies looking to hire talent, go over to the same website, bitcointalent.co. You'll see a tab there for Bitcoin companies to get in touch with us, and we'll just go from there and see how we can help you out. And I guess on the personal side too, you can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter is at epodrules. I created that in middle school, I think. So at EPODRULZ. And then
You can change your handle, right?
I
Like there's
know,
nothing stopping you from changing your handle.
but I feel like such a part of me now because it's like on multiple social media sites.
I'm just you're welcome to late night Bitcoin. I'm prickly and
I've thought
low
about
on
that.
sleep.
Yeah.
But
I was
I
like,
mean
from
look,
a branding perspective, ePod Rules is not the best. And my name is like not the best, like Eric Podwojski, but oh well.
yeah, I hope I have not butchered your last name's pronunciation tonight. Did
That's
I?
all
No, I definitely did that. I see the look on your face. Fuck, my bad, bro.
good.
It,
The odd thing is that it's pronounced like 5 different ways by my family. Like if you're my Polish relative, it's Podwojski. If you're my brother, it's Podjowski. If you're me, it's Podwojski. So I don't really care, honestly.
Podwojski. I'm just gonna say how you say it, Podwojski.
That
My
works.
my apologies, Mr. Podwojski. Um, on that note, I will bid you adieu. Thank you so much for joining me, my friend Eric. Check out bitcointalent.co.
Yep.
It is down there next to his name. And will I see you in Miami?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I already booked my ticket. So I'll
Boom.
be in Austin for the South by Southwest Bitcoin Takeover Week in mid-March.
Ooh.
If anyone's
Ooh.
there, come say what's up. I'll be in the Bitcoin Commons, and then same for the Bitcoin conference. I'll be there for the whole week in Miami. So
We're
I'll
gonna
see you
we're gonna
there.
party in Miami.
Oh, we're gonna
And
party.
I put it down below, but you can use promo code QQQ to get 10% off. And I see if my promo code's ever used. So
Uh,
don't lie to me. But if you actually use my promo code to come to Miami, there's a fat joint waiting for you. And I promise we will smoke it together. So use promo code QQQ and we will
He's a
have a
man of
great
his
time.
word. That's what we did last year too.
We will smoke, like, honestly, I'm going to smoke so much weed in Miami this year. Like, you guys thought I smoked a lot of weed last year. This time I'm not working.
Oh, true. Yeah, there's zero responsibility.
Zero responsibilities this time.
That'll be fun,
CK's
man. I
gonna
can't
hate it.
wait.
I'm just gonna be walking through the entire venue with a joint lit.
Be cute.
All right, that'll do it for tonight's episode of Late Night Bitcoin. Be sure to like and subscribe down below. And if you are listening to us later, please leave a review on all podcast platforms because that's how we get found by more